Amy Farley, executive editor at Fast Company, and we're here at José Andrés' house for the Fast Company cover shoot. So I want to take you back to the founding of World Central Kitchen. Was that a singular sort of aha moment, or was that an innovation that arrived organically over time to harness the power of restaurants and chefs to feed people in crises?
I think World Central Kitchen main thing has been the urgency of now. And I think we need to move quicker in emergencies, but sometimes the systems are not in place. In Ukraine, we reach over 250 million meals. We reach over 1 million meals a day. In the early days, it was just 2 people at World Central Kitchen that went in the early weeks, month, inside. But what happened? We were able to find amazing Ukrainians, amazing organizations that brought with them hundreds of people at once. And before we knew, we were in every major city. We were responding to bombings, to shellings.
Do you have aspirations for where the organization is a year from now? Are there certain challenges that you're trying to work through?
If we become way too big, I'm afraid that we become also the very big organizations that because they are so big, they are slow in movement. So what is the right size is a question. How to be nimble but powerful. How to be able to have pre-set network of contacts in places we know hurricanes are gonna happen. That tsunamis and typhoons are gonna happen. Be ready for those. Do we have warehouses ready to go with certain things that sometimes we have a hard time getting? Do we need to have a fleet of food trucks? Do we have to have a fleet of food trucks that one day will be self-driving? But more important, you can have everything you want. If you don't reach the people, you are a failure. And what we're trying to make sure is that we don't fail the people.
I'd like to ask you some questions sort of about your work today. Let's start with the restaurant business. You have an empire of restaurants now. You've obviously found a lot of innovative ways to reach customers and give them new experiences. But are there any big challenges you see in the restaurant industry today that you're focused on trying to figure out how to surmount?
The big conversation about tipping. Should people be working for tips or they should be working for a salary? I know it's been organizations and people trying to change it, but I think this is something that has to be led by Congress, by the Senate, by the White House, that we arrive to a consensus, and then all of that trickles down all across America at once. Still, where it's always going to be very hard is if people like to tip somebody for good service. But moving away from maybe a tipping model to a more everything is included in the price, and you know that that person is going to be able to go home and take care of the family.
I almost hate to ask this question of you as a chef, but there's a lot of talk about how our relationship with food will change profoundly now that weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy have entered the marketplace. Not because they're weight loss drugs, but because they really profoundly change your relationship with appetite. Is this something that you think about?
I tested myself one of those runs, and actually it did work for the few weeks I tasted. But at the same time, I was not myself.
You don't worry that widespread use of these medications, though, would just diminish people's love of food, that the joy and the craving?
Well, in the Silicon Valley and tech that I love, for me, I was a little bit distressed when I saw that some of the leaders began pushing some of those ugly liquids that you had all your nutrients and calories. I don't want to mention names. What is the joy of living? It was Briat Savarin said, the French philosopher in 1826 said, tell me what you eat and I will tell you who you are. I will not want to think like the alien civilizations that they are looking right now into Earth just went into that guy that is drinking that bottle and they think we are that. Because actually we are something so much amazing and greater. The foods, the dishes, the smells, the spices that through history has challenge humanity to go to other places, to meet other cultures. I think this has been, for me, something like makes me very proud to be in the food business.
What's the innovation that you see on the horizon in the world?
So that's one.
So,
we will see more seeds and more cereals that will be produced in seawater environment, helping fight erosion, creating jobs, creating a good economy in places that right now produce absolutely nothing, making sure that the ocean will be more productive because fish will have places where they could be reproducing themselves. Obviously, it'll be having challenges. We saw with the shrimp industry that they use the coastal parts of Asia to produce fish farms, and this was devastating, but since then, they improve. We have no other option.
When you look back at your legacy so far, what do you think your greatest innovation is?
Any innovation is just understanding the power of we the people. The only talent I think I've ever had is to understand all the lack of things I had in my brain. And the biggest talent, if anything, was trying to cover those dark sides of me, just with amazing talented people that just made me better.